Welcome to Free Game Podcast. How y'all doing out there, man? It's your boy Chevy. I got my brothers with me, Keith, Coach
Yes,
Don.
sir.
Today we got a very, very special episode, especially to me, because it's something I've been dealing with over the last year and a half, 2 years or whatever. Mental health in the Black community, something that we need to talk about, something that we need to, to understand it's okay not to be okay. It's okay not to be okay. And we gotta understand when we're going through certain things, you gotta learn, identify what all these things that's triggering us. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna pass it to my boy Keith. I'm gonna pass it to my boy Don. Man, today's gonna be a nice day on Free Game.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's talk about depression with the youth, man. That's the main thing I'm ready to talk about, man. How is it related to how does this depression relates at home and at school and stuff like that? You feel me? Like that's something that we really need to highlight at this point in time of our life. You feel me?
So yes, sir, no doubt, man. Don, can you give our community, our Free Game fans, the rundown on our guests? Like, you know what I'm saying? I heard she established like that. Like, you hear me? So I need to know what. Let me know about it, man. Let me know about it.
So definitely, today's show would not be possible if we didn't have Chicago's very own Jackie Allen. She's a
Yes,
licensed clinical professional counselor, specializing in EMDR therapy.
so you know what I'm saying? I wish you had the button for the round of applause, but I'm gonna give it to you myself. You know what I'm saying? Flowers, queen, man. Can you give us some more information about yourself? You know what I'm saying? Let us know about you and let us appreciate you,
Yeah,
Jackie.
sure. Thank you guys so much for having me. Yeah, my name is Jacqueline Allen, and I am a licensed clinical professional counselor. And I can explain a little bit more about what EMDR is, but basically, it's a type of therapy that helps people process trauma. Yeah, so I'm a mom of a 2-year-old. I'm married to CW Allen.
Yes,
And
sir,
that's a little
Doug.
bit about me. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what's up, man. That's what's up. Trauma. Woo! Especially in our community. We got so many traumas from everything, police, just street stuff. It's crazy out here being a black man, black woman, black person. It's just wild out here. I would like to let you know that I really appreciate what you do. One, I feel like your work is one of the most important things, especially with today's times. I feel like social media is, until we figure out a way to regulate ourselves, it really be, what I'm saying, got a lot of people minds just fried in a sense of the way. I don't want to say it like that, but I feel like people spend too much time on social media, out of touch with reality. Then when reality comes, they don't know how to handle it. So it's tough out here. Just that's another form of trauma. Then with me, I know I have a lot of friends who, me myself, lost friends to gun violence, to just living everyday life in the neighborhood, and it's like it's tough. It's tough. And one day for me, it came back to me, and I had to really deal with it. Like, yo, I sit back. It's a lot going on with death. One of my little homies killed after a day or two of just kicking it with him. And it's just stuff like that this is an everyday story for many people in Chicago, many men. And I want to know, like, what would you say to these people that's going through stuff like that?
I would say, well, first of all, great question. And you're Chevy, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yes. Okay, awesome. So great question. I would say I loved how you opened our time together by saying it's okay to not be okay, right? Because when we experience things that are really painful, really traumatic, our bodies and minds can't help but respond. And just know that the response is actually not defective. It's your body trying to do what it needs to do to survive. So you mentioned before that a lot of people are avoiding things with social media. that's one attempt to survive, right? Because it's sort of like, let me avoid the pain, let me distract myself with social media, let me sort of look like I'm perfect from the outside, whatever social media, whatever
Right.
they're going for. But recognize that even your attempts are really your body's natural way to try and survive. But I think we have a very we don't want to feel pain, which is understandable. But I would say prioritize yourself, prioritize your mental health by doing a couple different things. Finding someone to talk to, a therapist. And I always emphasize with people, you guys are like clients. I mean, you guys are like consumers when you're trying to find a therapist. So find someone that fits. It's kind of like dating. You might go
Right.
through a couple of them because you got to really.
Yeah. Because I went through a couple myself, like I
Absolutely.
went like, and also, man, I don't know if you dealt with anything. You probably had a therapist yourself or whatever. Perfect. It's just, to me, it was a real disconnect. I love the fact that in Chicago, if you have a mayor card, you can get access to free therapy, but because it's so overwhelming, you might not get the right person, right? You might not get the right person, and do not let that discourage you. Like I went through that. I went through the city, the government for a therapist at first, and I'm like, yo, I'm not getting the help I need, but I kind of got discouraged. But you know what I'm saying? I had my girlfriend. She told me, she actually gave me the quote of "It's okay not to be okay," and we worked it out, found something else. Now I found the therapist. We rocking out, damn near best friend in a sense. So yeah, we need to, man. You hit it on the head. Therapy. Black people, we need it. It's not bad to talk to people. It's not. I know y'all don't like to be out here, no snitching. You know what I'm saying? No talking. We get that. You know what I'm saying? This different. This different. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is way different than that, man. Don, you got something to say?
I have a quick question for you, Jackie. Just what are some of the myths that you feel like plague the Black community when it comes to therapy? What are some of the struggles that you have, dealing with your clients who are specifically African American or brown?
Got it. Yeah. So that is a majority of my caseload, which I'm so happy about. But I would say a couple myths. I want to be sensitive when I answer this question because I think for a lot of us, we have different fears for a reason, right? Like, historically speaking, systems have not really worked in our favor. So I can understand why some of those fears would be approached. For a long time, therapy was stigmatized, right? Because it was like, okay, why am I going to go talk to this person and then get a label on me and then just be seen in a different way? But I would say maybe one myth is the stigma, because therapy is confidential. So everything my clients share with me, I don't tell a soul. Only if there's harm to self, harm to somebody else, then it becomes, I can't keep that confidential.
Stuff like that, right?
Right, exactly. Yep. But I would say, yeah, that's one myth that I think things are changing now to where there's not a stigma. Like, we're not defective when we struggle with anxiety or depression because there's new information out there. We're recognizing that these symptoms are actually our body's attempt to keep us safe. Think about anxiety, for example, right? Anxiety is basically our mind going to the future and coming up with a really scary narrative, like a really scary version of our experience. That's our body's attempt to self-preserve. It's like, oh gosh, okay, so if I step out the house, this could happen, this could happen. And so I think one myth is that you're not defective if you need additional support. There's nothing wrong with you. I think that's the biggest one that I can think of when it comes to myths within our communities when it comes to mental health stuff.
Yeah, man. It's that
I
perfect world.
definitely want to say something. Jackie, the question I wanted to add, my fault, Chevy, for cutting you off. But I wanted to know, like, to piggyback off what you said, you feel that on the myths, like, do you feel like the generation before us, do you think they played a part in our mental health? You feel me? Because it's like most people in my generation, people that's like, you know, between the ages of like, you know, 17 and 25, you feel me? They usually can't really rely on they parent to talk about their mental health. You know, it's like it's a saying. You feel me? Like if I was to tell you feel me a parent that like, oh yeah, you feel me, I'm depressed, and she'll tell me, man, go depress them dishes. You feel me? Go depress them. You feel me? Go depress them dishes in the kitchen. You feel like dang, you feel me? I gotta clean up because I'm depressed. Like I can't open up to you. You feel me? Mm-hmm. So it's like, do you think our parents played a part in people not open up about their feelings and emotions?
Yeah, and I have to say, Marquise, I think your generation specifically, you guys are really spearheading stuff, I think, because it's like your generation is open to talking about this stuff and there's no shame attached to it. At least I'm seeing some movement there, but I think you did hit it on the nail when it comes to previous generations before us. But I think they did what they had to do to survive trauma. Let's be honest. We can't look at this without the color that history sort of plays as the backdrop, right? And when you think about trauma, many of our communities went through intense trauma, no sort of support. Think about it. 250 years, not to put it bluntly, but our people being raped, 250 years and no support. And then, you know, transitioning to other sort of times in history, no support. And I think now we have the language because of Marquise's generation and our generation in part too. But I think you're right. I think in our family context, we were invalidated a lot, right? It was sort of like there was no room for you to express your sadness or emotions. It was definitely put down. And I think you hit it on the nail, Marquise. I do think that sort of taught us to suppress what our experience is, for sure.
I feel like our parents usually like when it comes to like pain and like whether it's physical pain or mental pain, you feel me? We was taught to sweep stuff under the rug, you feel me? Like it's a lot of people out here right now that's going through things with their family, and their family just sweep stuff under the rug, and that's what causes things to, you know, it causes people not to trust other people, because if your own family willing to sweep things under the rug that's traumatizing your own health, like how can you even trust a therapist? You feel me?
And I have to say something to that, because how our parents spoke to us actually becomes internalized as our own self-talk, right? Mm-hmm. So if our parents were saying, oh, you're sad, you're crying, I'm going to give you something to cry about, that becomes internalized as our own sort of inner critic.
Hey, I definitely had something to cry about. They get no whoopings, boy. Well,
yeah, I think both of you guys made some valid points, even going as far as back as to like slavery. Mm-hmm. And I stated before, like the only form of, I guess, therapy would be like Negro spirituals, or people would put up this wall of not being broken to kind of mask what they were going through. But there has been a significant spike with people of color who are now receiving therapy. And like you said, I feel like the younger generation is kind of spearheading that with being open about expressing how they feel emotionally, mentally, you know, saying they're okay to not be okay. Whereas it just wasn't accepted before as much.
Look, I know for a fact that when I was growing up, to have somebody to talk to, only have my grandmother really to, you know, to really talk to. Other than that, it was silent, nobody to talk to, you know, like I was the only child. Both my parental figures worked super hard. So nobody was in the house. I damn near raised myself type situation. So, you know, like that Dylan, you know, I'm 10 years old, setting an alarm to the house, cooking breakfast, all this other stuff, like nobody's around. And I feel like like a lot of kids have to raise themselves, you know, like because they really ain't have that, you know, that real time with their parents, right? So just to stay in the home realm, what are things you can do at home, like if you know you're feeling down? you know what I'm saying, you feeling it, you don't want to leave. What's something you can do at home to help you feel better? What do you suggest? Like, some things for us.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, what can you do at home? So, I would say, I mean, it depends on how old you are for sure, but I would say definitely find someone who you trust. It doesn't have to be a therapist, but someone that you trust that you can take up some space with. Because we have two major needs in life, to be authentic and to be loved. And a lot of times we learn to suppress our authenticity to hold on to relationships. But I think we all need spaces where we can just be our authentic self. I'll also say some really practical things you could do at home is just recognize that our bodies are constantly scanning areas to see if we are safe emotionally and physically. So think
That's
through,
what that
and
is.
yeah, it's crazy, right? But
I thought
through
I
our
was just on
senses.
edge.
What'd you say?
I said I thought I was just on edge.
No, yeah, your body's constantly scanning through looking, through touch, sense of smell, all that. And so I would say really surrounding yourself with things that feel life-giving, whatever that looks like. And also people, you got to start assessing your village, because I think sometimes we tolerate people that aren't serving us at times. And so kind of thinking through things within your home that provide you with a sense of safety, but also your friend group, your village. Who are those people?
Yeah, man, you gotta realize like the people on your Instagram and Twitter ain't your friends, man. Those are not real people. I know y'all like tweeting them. I know y'all like interaction. Those not your friends, man. They'll turn on you in a minute. Do not think they're your friend. Like never. But yeah, like it's tough out here, yo. Like it's real tough, yo. And we gotta learn. We gotta arm ourselves with different weapons, physically, mentally, what I'm saying, and spiritually. We gotta definitely defend ourselves out here. Real quick. This is the Free Game Podcast, yo.
Free game,
So,
free game.
you know what I'm saying? We drop it. I need all y'all to like this, man. This gonna touch on some things on this episode. Keith, man, like you a little bit younger than me. You was in the brunt. Like your generation was the brunt of Chirac. That was y'all. Like you know what I'm saying. My people, we was in the beginnings of it, but your group, y'all was out there. You know what I'm saying. Like speak to that, because I know, you know what I'm saying. You lost homies out here in the field, bro. You know what I'm saying. Our people. And just speak on it, bro. Like, what's some of the things you learn to deal with and understand by doing, living life.
Shit. I mean, like far as like growing up in my generation, like we dealt with a lot of like death. Death has been a very common thing. Like the people that we grew up with from grammar school, going into our adult years, they gone. You feel me? And it's like it makes Chicago and living life not the same no more, because it's like I used to do so and so with my homie, and now he gone. You feel me? So we dealt with a lot of that and a lot of depression on trying to figure out who we are as people. Like what are we all want to be successful. You feel me? My generation is so built on trying to be successful, trying to start businesses, careers, and stuff like that. But we get lost because it's such a hard way trying to get it out the mud, out the hood. So it's like we really was taught to like be in a repetitive cycle of like, go to work, come home, pay bills, go to sleep, wake up and do it again. You feel me? But that's not what life is. Life is just enjoying yourself. You feel me? Just loving yourself. And like it's kind of hard to find that. And in my generation, that we find it hard to just love ourselves. And we end up turning to things that gives us temporary satisfaction. You feel me? Drugs, alcohol, into the wrong intimate relationships, all different types of things like that, to fill that void of hurt, that void of hurt, that void of loss, the void of not having our family there for us. My generation suffered a lot from that growing up. You can hear it in the music. They talk about it a lot in the music. And so it's like since we can't, you feel me, talk it out from a young adult to an older adult, we just talk it out through the music. We'll talk it out through when we have like a smoke session where we go out and drinking and partying, or doing the things that we ain't really supposed to do to fill that void in that empty space, you know? So, yeah.
Sure. Like you said, it's tough. Like, man, I went to school with this dude, and next year he's dead. You know, like damn, that's tough out here, man. Hey Don, your generation, because you were older than us, your generation went through a flux of the deaths too. It was
Yeah, I
it
think
was, y'all was kind of, you know what I'm saying, y'all caught the back end of the 90s, early 2000ish, right? Y'all was it was
yeah,
kind
but
of
I don't think that we well, there's a couple things that factor in how and what death was perceived or looked like during my time. One of the biggest factors is that there was no social media,
yeah.
so we didn't have to see that. I I lost my older brother when I was about 12 or maybe 13 years old, but no one in my community probably died that I knew tangibly within like 3 to 4 months. And so it wasn't this reoccurring thing of having to deal with death and trauma to that magnitude. What I will say is that I feel that a lot of people my age uh, may be desensitized to death or trauma just because we had different outlets to deal with it, or put a band-aid on what we were going through, but never really dealing with those issues. And so it just looked a whole lot differently. I think Keith's generation is a little bit more vocal and kind of in your face about being depressed, having some mental issues, and also visually, you're able to see how they're handling those issues, whether it's with drugs or alcohol or yeah, mostly drugs and alcohol and maybe music.
Crazy.
In my opinion, it's broadcasted. Whereas in my opinion, we kind of like hid it. We did. They probably did use those things, but we weren't so like blunt and open with them.
It's more. I always said that, like, the drug use then is not nothing new. It's just more of it. Nothing. The pills, the all this. There's nothing new. It's just like nah. It's more people want, and it's more people going through things. So now everybody turning to the drugs rather than turning to somebody. Like, man, like you really need. It's little boys out here who, like, yo, they best friend just died. They probably just need a hug and they can't get it. But they'll pop a pill for $10 or something and just feel whatever that's gonna make them feel, yo. And it's like we need to understand, yo, like you're gonna have emotions. Emotions are a part of life. You're gonna have to learn how to deal with those emotions. You can't run away from them every time something make you feel a certain way. It's tough. I'm not saying it's easy though. But you got to be tough out here. That's what it boils down to. And if you need help, that's why you got therapy. Get the help you need. So once again, this is the Free Game Podcast.
Free game, man.
We got Jackie Allen, man. She's so dope, man. She dropping bombs on us.
Jackie, you dropping the knowledge, boy. They don't let the therapist to the door.
I wanted to kind of. Is it okay if I ask? Well, I wanted to share something that Chevy had mentioned. I agree. I think emotions communicate something to us, right? Even the unpleasant ones. And I think, going back to what Marquis said, your generation, and to be honest, every generation gravitating towards drugs, alcohol, really, that's just the part of us that's trying to create some distance from pain, right? But I think it's important to know that even if we do feel pain or unpleasant emotions, it doesn't mean we're weak. It doesn't mean we're defective. But I have a question for Marquise and Donnell, because I'm curious, like, how was your grief? how did people respond to you when you did experience loss? Do you feel like you got an adequate response, or was it just kind of you were supposed to just go to school the next day? I'm just curious to know like what happened after that, if that's okay.
For me, I ain't really, you feel me? Like, we never really just sat and talked about, like, you know, when people, like, you know, just letting that out, like, you feel me? Like, we, like, even like the first time in our generation, the first person that really walked away in our life, you feel me, that went absent is our fathers. You feel me? Our fathers was really the first ones that left our life. You know, in my generation, I can't speak for, you know, the generation before me, or even the ones now. I feel like people now are starting to step up and be fathers now. But in my generation, the first person that left us was our fathers. You feel me? So we already hurting off that, trying to figure out, like, is it my fault? Am I not good enough? Am I, like, you feel me? Am I the one? Am I the reason that broke my mom and my pops up? You feel me? Like, you feel me? And now we watching our mom struggle because she's missing that. You feel me? And now as we grow up, we try to build these connections with our friends, and now they gone to like a gun violence or something like that. So now it's like, man, who do we talk to? Because the only person we talked to was our friend, and now they gone. You feel me? So it's like we never really solved that problem. We never found closure, if you will. Like, we never found closure for our fathers leaving us at an early age. We never found closure for why our friend had to die in this gun violence act. We never found closure on why is our family sweeping things under the rug. We never found closure for these things. So now we just pushing past it. We just going through life, like trying to figure out why is these things happening and how can we deal with it. And I think in my generation, we struggle with trying to open up our feelings because we lost so much. Like, what's the purpose of opening up if it's just gonna get lost in the end? So it's like that's kind of tough for us. So my question to bounce off your question is, how can you help my generation find closure on the people that left us? And on top of that, how can we be able to express our emotions and feelings going forward?
Okay, that's such a complex question because it's such a complex issue. You mentioned like when your father is absent. And I think you have so much insight, Marquise, because you're right. When it's sort of like grief. When our parents aren't what we need them to be, it's like we're grieving. It's almost like we're grieving our family, how we sort of wanted it to be. And I think you're right. It sort of imprints different messages on us, like, I'm not good enough, because as children, we soak everything up like we're egotistical, if I could be honest with you, right? Not in a bad way, but we just sort of soak everything up like we are the cause. And so different messages get imprinted on us. I would say, I think it goes back to really finding a space where you can allow some of these things to take up space, if that makes sense. Because I think when I think of what it looks like to be mentally healthy, or as my friend says, mentally fit, I love that phrase because I think we have to start pressing into some of the pain that we've experienced, because that's the only way through. A mentally fit person is a person that is able to have flexibility. So we can feel the unpleasant emotions, but we can return back to feeling calm, feeling present, feeling okay. And the only way to gain flexibility is to also press into the pain. So I would say finding spaces where you can take up space and really develop language regarding how you're feeling, because that's also a thing. You're right, Marquise. But yeah, that's just one tip I have. In therapy, in a trusted adult, someone though, like getting it out, because when we hang on to pain, it actually manifests itself in the body. So it's important to press into that.
That's crazy. It's just crazy how powerful your mind and emotions is that works with the body. Like, it can really shut your whole body down, just being depressed and having a lot of anxiety and stuff like that. You know, one of my, and how I deal with things like this, like I never found closure for any of those things either. And so how I typically deal with it, I usually just like I do music. Music has been the outlet for me to just express myself. Whether it's, you feel me, whether I know the song is good or not, like, it's just to say these things, and like it don't have to. I don't really care like what anybody thinks, as long as I say it and I got it off my chest. You feel me? that's the beauty of it. You feel me?
And I love that you say that, Marquise, because therapy is not a one-stop shop, right? It's not a magic pill that's just going to cure you tomorrow. But I think that it sets you on a trajectory to be able to digest some of the painful experiences that you had. Because some of these things you mentioned, Marquise, are huge. They're not going to just be healed tomorrow. But I think there's other different facets, right? You mentioned music, moving your body, eating right, all that contributes to being mentally fit.
Those are definitely some key points, Keith, especially kind of tying into depression and then also what it does to your body physically, which is why there's so many high cases of people of color with cancer and stuff like that, because they're depressed or going through trauma, and then your immune system is weakened. And so when you're supposed to be fighting off these different things, you can't because your body's so weak, and so you're not able to fight off what you need to fight off in your body. But go ahead, Chevy.
I was about to say is we definitely have to realize, like when they say that the mind is the most powerful thing in the world, it is. Whatever you think will more than likely come true if you think too hard about it, especially with diseases and mental health. I know, like personally, my thing was grief. Man, thinking about my grandmothers, they passed literally 2 weeks from each other, and those ladies was my rock. The people I talked to now, but what I'm saying, my therapist in general, and to lose them, I thought about that every day. What I'm saying. Then when the pandemic happened, it really forced me to sit down with nothing else to take my mind off of it and to sit me spiraling. So definitely don't let these thoughts get you. It's put you in a prison and you won't be able to get out. Just find your sunshine somewhere. Like you said, like Jackie said, a trusted adult, a trusted figure, mentor. It's somebody in your life that you trust. It is. Like, I know you probably don't think of it like that because how you was raised, or we all go through life in different paths or whatever. So you might not identify that person as being a trusted individual, but find that person for you, and just rock out. Let them know, I got to talk about something. Something on my head, I need to get it off. Like it's definitely needed. You can't have these bad emotions just brewing, because eventually it's gonna come out, and it's not gonna be what you like. Never going to be what you like. So definitely, man, this I've been rocking out. This pod been dope. I want to know, Jack, if I can call you Jack, I'm sure your name like even more than that. But yeah, what are some outlets? Like do you got any places where you can find therapy at things like that? I know me myself, I use the app Cerebral. I live by it. They, what I'm saying, they helped your boy out. Me and my therapist, like I said, she almost my best friend. I feel like it's a nice app to use. I feel like they need to give me promo because I just gave them a shout out. So holla at me. But
hey, what that app be doing? What that app be doing?
Oh, so basically, it'll let you you're gonna take a test, of course. Don't be scared about the test. It's just trying to your aptitude, see where you at. Where you fall on the scale. You find out where you are on the scale. Then they match you up with about 10 suggested therapists that fit your criteria. It's very personalized. Then also after that, if you are already on medication, they handle medication. It's cheaper too. It's a real good app. Like I said, take care of your medication and the therapist, and if needed, you can set up in-person things and stuff like that. Cerebral app. I live by it. Y'all should definitely get it if you need a way to just to get into the therapy world. You know, it's a nice app for newcomers. You know, I use it. But Jackie, do you have any more information about places?
Yeah, so I would say first start out through your insurance. If you don't have insurance, there is a awesome organization called NAMI, NAMI, Chicago.org. And you can actually call them and they could provide a lot of different resources if you don't have insurance. But yeah, I would definitely say start off by going through your insurance and they could provide you with a list of providers that you can start calling. And I always say you can ask for a 15-minute consultation with the therapist. See if they provide those just to see if the vibe feels right. Ask them any questions about what they specialize in, stuff like that. But yeah, NAMI Chicago is a great resource out there.
Well, I had my first therapy session was this year. It was with this lady. You feel me? The crazy part is she was cool. She wasn't like a real life therapist, but that was the crazy part. You feel me? She was an intern. Hold on. She was
For a case study.
hold on,
That's right.
nah, she was. I wouldn't say she. You feel me? You know what I'm trying to say, man. Nah, so she was a therapist, but she was like still in school, so she was just an intern. So she was like, you feel, but she ain't tell me that to the end of our session. Like we did like a 3-month session.
Oh, she needed you for a grade. That's what that was.
Right, I felt a little used. She told me that at the end. She told me that at the end. Oh, hold on. So you're not a real therapist? She said, well, I'm a therapist in training. I said, I just told you my whole life. But nah, she was cool.
Feel better though.
It did make me feel better. Now she was cool though. For an intern, she handled it pretty well. She's an intern, I think, at DePaul University.
Okay.
Loyola. It's Loyola. She's at Loyola. And she did pretty good. For the first time, like she just basically just let me just open up and talked about a lot of things as far as like my parents and they the way of raising me and stuff like that. And they said it starts at home. You feel me? Like what you taught at home can really make you or break you for the future. You feel me? So it was just like, yeah. So I definitely recommend therapy. It was cool. And she ain't like judge me or nothing like that. You feel? She was cool. So yeah, for all the people out there that's in my generation, in my age, I definitely recommend therapy. Somebody that's like willing to just relate to you, instead of just like trying to like nitpick you and stuff like that. Just think they just try to give you all the solutions. Let me just vent for you real quick. You feel me? So that's all you be needing is somebody to just talk to. That's all. Like just a little conversation here and there, you know.
For sure. But you know, health is definitely wealth. You feel me? And your health start with your mental for sure. Like it really starts with your head. You gotta get your mind right so everything else can fall in line. Jackie, you said, do you have any more like locations or anything else like people can find help at?
You know what I do? I always have the suicide hotline on hand, and then also there's like this text line that you could text should you ever be in a place where you feel really down, because that's real, you know. So the suicide hotline number is 1-800-273-8255, and then the crisis text line, you just text home to 741-741, and it's a 24-hour crisis line.
Yeah, that's good. Hey, can I ask one more question? Let me ask one more question. You feel me? So look, I'll be eating healthy and stuff, right? You feel me? But people don't believe me when I say health is wealth. You feel me? Like I be eating all these fruits and stuff, boy, and like vegetables and stuff like that. And I've been good ever since. You feel me? Now don't eating healthy play a part in your mental health?
Absolutely. So
see, I done told y'all they be playing. I be saying, look, this go out to all the people that said that sea moss ain't good for them. They say it don't do nothing. Well, sea moss be working. I've been good ever since. Man, look.
What is this sea moss like? I'm sorry, like, cause is this a new fad? Like this Dr.
Look, man, look, man, I've been eating healthy all summer. I've been happy all summer. That's look. You feel me?
Jackie, take it away, man. Let us know the food matter.
It does matter. So our gut is actually really has a very close relationship to what we're experiencing mentally. So if we put junk in the gut, for sure, we can feel depressed, and vice versa. If we experience a lot of stress, it can actually cause irritable bowel syndrome, because our body is sort of like, I know this is weird, but the mind-body connection, it's all one. We dichotomize.
Hold on. So you said irritable bowel, so that means you gotta sit on the toilet real quick.
So basically, okay, let me say
let one go.
Let me say it like this, Marquise. So basically, when we experience a lot of stress, our nervous systems are extending a lot of energy to managing the stress. And so it's almost like if we were all running from a bear, our bodies would turn off our gut. It would turn off our stomach, because it's like, okay, we don't need to digest this right now. We don't need to extend energy to digestion. So it can actually cause digestive issues. But vice versa, what we put in the gut also can positively or negatively impact how we feel too, for sure.
Look. So I don't eat. You feel me? I don't eat no red meat. Like I don't eat no beef, no pork. I don't eat no lamb. I feel like ever since I started eating that, I just been positive, man. I mean, look, people don't be believing. They be talking about come get these ribs, man. Them ribs go put you down. Like I'm trying to let them know.
What are you talking about?
So you ain't never been sad after eating some ribs. Like, man, I
really been eating some ribs. What are you talking about, bro? Well, that's my coping mechanism. Let me for my 57, we Gucci. What are you talking about, boy?
Man.
You tweaking, man.
Look, man.
Definitely can't just be eating wild, though. You definitely can't. But, can you give us some, like, dispel some of the negative connotations about medicine? You know, a lot of people, especially in the Black people community, I ain't taking those. It's gonna make me crazy. Like, nah, it's not like that. Like, you know, I take Lexapro. It's definitely a nice medicine. I feel like my mood and demeanor is definitely different ever since I've been taking this medicine. Can you tell these people out here like it's not bad to take this medicine either?
Absolutely. So yeah, I think there shouldn't be any stigma on having to take medication, for sure. I think I do prefer psychiatrists who will work with you and not just shove medicine your way, right? But I think absolutely, I think medicine is really helpful when it comes to when we feel like we're sort of drowning. It can really help lift you up. And also, I think what's paired nicely with that is also learning what I call resiliency routines. So learning different practices that you can also incorporate into your life that can also maintain that mental fitness. So I think that's also one tool that's perfectly fine to use, and no shame should be associated with it. But unfortunately, there is at times. But
y'all will not get crazier. It's not possible. It's literally to balance off the imbalance in you. And that's it. That's all. Don't unless I'm cool, I take it. I'm not in a wrong with it. But man,
do you think there's issues when you're pairing those different medications with like hard drugs and alcohol? Then that's a different case, right?
Yeah, that's a different.
To be honest, okay, so I'm not a psychiatrist, so take this with a grain of salt, but I have collaborated with psychiatrists, some of my clients who also see psychiatrists. But yes, you should be, there's two people you should never lie to: your therapist, well, actually three, your doctor and your psychiatrist. If you are taking any type of drug, you definitely need to make them aware of that, because they're dealing with your body, and when you're putting something else in your body that can sort of change things, you just want to make them aware. And I would say, going back to what Chevy said, make sure you're being bluntly honest. If you are feeling a little off, tell that to your psychiatrist, because it is sort of like a practice, right? They got to figure out what amount works for your body, all that. So
Exactly. They definitely, it's kind of, you got to test it a little bit, but once you find the right doses for you, you definitely won't be cool. It took me a minute to get the right doses for me. I'm a big guy, so you know how that goes. But yeah, man. Once again, this is the Free Game Podcast mental health episode. Got our girl in here, Jackie Allen, man, been dropping bombs on us.
They don't let the therapist through the door, yeah.
You hear me? They didn't let her in, man. Dom in here, man. He been stoic, giving us, coach vibes, man. But I'm gonna end it like this, man. We need each other out here. All this pettiness out here, all this goofy stuff that's going on. We need to dead it. We losing each other. It's no love. We need more love out here. Love your brother, love your sister. It's not needed. It's the pointless petty hating. They got this. You don't have that. The comparisons. We don't need none of that no more, man. We on to bigger things. I know it's trend, but let's make being in a better community a trend. Let's make that trendy. Let's make bigging up our people trendy. Let's make having old school fun. Like we used to be able to go to the parks and have crazy fun. Let's bring that back. Let's give our
they don't do that no more. Boy. The barbecues ain't the same.
Let's get our community back, man. Let's get our community back, man. I love y'all, man. I'd like to give a big thank you once again to you, Jackie. You came through, held it down, man. I appreciate you so much. Learned a lot from you. Make sure y'all go out and subscribe, like this episode, share it on all social platforms. It will be on all distributing services too. So y'all listen to us, man. I feel like this is a nice episode. How y'all feel about it? Y'all rocking with it?
Rocking with it. I do have one last question for Jackie.
Hey, man, shoot.
Before we get off, there has been a spike. It has been a spike in the last 2 years with suicides in the African American community. Whereas I guess the white people during the pandemic, it's almost doubled down, and for people of color, it's doubled up. Do you have any kind of insight on why that may be?
So I think systemically speaking, right, the pandemic hit our communities the hardest. Because of a couple different reasons, but I think that's interesting. I hadn't heard of that number, and it's specifically associated with the pandemic.
I was reading a case study from a college in Maryland. They specifically did that area, but I think it's been more so kind of internationally as well, with just people of color being more prone to commit suicide than they have in the previous years.
Yeah, I think that's also pretty complex. But one thing that kind of jumped in my mind is the pandemic kind of forced us all to take a look at we were forced to not avoid our pain, whatever that looked like, right? Whatever was going on at home, things like poverty, everything became sort of amplified. And I wonder if that's also in part why that increased. And I always share with people that I work with, when we experience suicidal ideation, again, that's a part of us that's trying to create distance from pain. As like morbid as that sounds, it's the truth. It's a part of us that's like, this is unbearable. I need to not feel this way. And so I do wonder I think what that tells me is that our communities experience a lot of pain, physically, emotionally. We were definitely hit the hardest because systems were sort of not designed for us, right? And so, like, for instance, in Woodlawn. I know CW was talking to me about how a lot of kids, that was kind of their meal, what they got at school. So different things like that contributed, everything going on systemically. But I think, you know, just to generalize, I think that shows me that pain was amplified. Maybe not amplified, but there was no distractions from the pain. And so clearly people in our communities wanted some distance from that. Yeah.
But even for that, like one of like some of the people they pain is at home. You feel me? Like some of they come to like, you know, sunshine. They go to school. They do their sports just to get out the house because it's so painful to live at home. You feel me? Like watching the mom struggle or somebody sick or abuse, stuff like that. Like you can't even run from it no more because the world shut down. You feel me? So now you just gotta sit there and just take it. So that definitely could play a part too.
And that's a good point, Marquise. And I think that's why I want to emphasize therapy is awesome, but that's an individual intervention, right? But we also have to look at the community as our client, right? Because some of these systems need to change to better serve us. I just wanted to kind of throw that out there.
Yeah, definitely. Like we talk about food deserts, right? Yep. With us just here in Woodlawn having this first grocery store be here in maybe about 20 years. But then also we know if we date back about maybe a decade ago, the city shut down a bunch of different mental health facilities, right? And so these people who had these mental issues had no place to go besides probably getting locked up or sent to prison or something like that. So you're right. It's up to us as people in the community to fight and advocate for these different injustices in our community, and not looking at it from a standpoint like, well, I don't have those issues, so it's not my problem, right? Back to what Chevy was talking about is love, right? And loving your fellow neighbor, not because they can do something for you, but because it's the right thing to do, right?
Our show was just gonna ask you for $2. Yeah, I ain't even gonna lie to you. Yeah, I can use $2 right about now. You feel
me? Man, all right, man. Y'all got any more questions for Jackie, man?
No, I just want to say thank you. I thank you for taking time out of your evening for us. You feel me? Like I know you have a lot of things to do. That therapy life is something busy. You feel me? So thank you for taking a good hour out your night to just help us out. Help out the world. You feel me? We really appreciate you.
No problem. This was fun. Thanks for having me, guys.
So I'll have to get you back again, man. I really appreciate your knowledge. I really appreciate it. Keys Don, man. Free game. We're gonna wrap it up, man. Y'all go like, subscribe, get the views up, man. We out here, man. Get your mind right. Sign it off.
Yeah. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. We're on all different social media platforms: Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Be looking forward to this episode dropping here real soon. Thanks again, Jackie, for taking an hour out your evening, spending time with us, tackling such a very important, tough subject to talk about that's plaguing our community.
Yeah.